Hello, welcome to the video on Closeout module. The Closeout module is a really quick tool to use to help you make sure you've done everything you need to do before you close out your grants. Again, it's kind of just a checklist of items. It's so you can track and basically have an audit trail that you went back and verified everything was done before you closed it out. It's very important to close out your grants. That way no new data can be created. So I'm going to walk you through that today. First, we're going to log in. And we're going to go into utilities and we're going to create the checklist of items. That's in closeout templates. So you see I have some here that are pretty standard already. You can add them yourself. So I have these already created. I'm going to be working with a grant in the training program area today. So I just want to show you in this listing here. I have 4 that are set to all, meaning they're global. So they'll pull into any grant in any program. And then I have one that's inactive of the global, so I only have 3 that'll truly pull in. And then I have these other 2 are set for specific programs. So for my training grant, it wouldn't even look for those at all. So I will actually pull in 3. But these, again, are internal tasks that you would do on your grants. And per program, depending on the requirements and what you need to check, this list could get larger and very specific too. So you can see I've got some pretty global ones that are pretty standard on each system, and then I'm going to walk you through adding a brand new one as well. Another item that we need to go verify is, of course, the funding opportunity. The funding opportunity controls all of your forms and your settings and what subcomponents show up. So if this is something you'd like to utilize, you do have to make sure it's in the grant tab of your funding opportunity. So this is my funding opportunity, the grant tab, and you can see I have added the closeout module. This is an internal task, so you can see I've set it to grants are only for my security here. So this means it will show, the closeout will show in my grant. So, or all my grants actually, under this funding opportunity. So this is one grant under this funding opportunity, and I do in fact have closeout. So as a program officer, you can pull in and utilize the closeout templates without creating them. In utilities and creating the actual templates for the checklist of items, that's an admin's responsibility. But most systems will already have those lists, at least the global ones. And so as a program officer doing the subcomponent, you can just go in and pull those closeout templates in. So I'm going to show you quickly just if you're an admin or if you need one created by your admin, how that happens. So we'll have these global ones sitting out here. And let's say now I'm going to add a specific one for my program. Okay, so I'm going to click Add. And then this is a drop-down that may or may not be different on your system. These are just some drop-downs we have on this particular system. So the one I'm going to add is like a finance document here. And then I'll add my task and my description. So I'm going to say my task is to update the appropriations if needed. And then I'm going to give the description of what that means. This will actually pull into my grants. And I'm going to make this specific to my program. So this would be a program-specific item. And you don't need to, but you can actually give it an automatic due date, so many days before the end date of that grant. If you wanted to, like this is due, let's say 10 days prior to the end date, it'll give it a due date. You don't need to do this. So this is just a typical setup of one. So as you can see, I now have 3 global that will pull in and then 1 specific to my program. And again, these are set up by the admin. But this training is really around the subcomponent itself. And it's a very easy subcomponent to use. And you'll have some global tasks sitting out there. So I'm going to go back to my grant now. And I am at the stage where I am ready to close out this grant, which means no more claims should be submitted. All the status reports are done and all that good stuff, right? So we just have to do our checklist of items before we actually close the grant. So it's in underway status right now. And we're going to go to Closeout and get prepared. So we're going to import. So this will be blank if you haven't used it before. and you'll import the closeout tasks, and it's going to go back and pull from that list that I just showed you. So I have 3 that were global and 1 that was specific for my program area. Okay, so now it's just as simple as looking at this item, verifying that you did in fact go do it. So the first one is, have all status reports been submitted and approved? I would actually go look. I would go look at their status reports, make sure that they did everything, that everything was approved. And once that's been verified, I would then go in and go, yes, it's no longer a pending item. It's compliant. I completed this on such and such day. If I had had a description in the template, it would have pulled through. So you may or may not have a description depending on the task that was created, but you can add one here yourself. You know that I verified this. I checked this. That'd be nice if I could type. Oh. And you can add an attachment if you need to. But it's, again, just checking that you did it, and it's verifying at the bottom the last person to edit and save, so it shows that I did this on this date and time. I'm going to go through each one. So like update appropriations does have a description. You know, if claims are paid and there's a remaining balance, you update the appropriations. So this, at this point, I would go, okay, their budget total was $79,100. I would go to appropriations and claims and verify that they spent all of that. And if they didn't, I would need to decrease it. You know, if they only spent the $79,000, I would put the $100 back in the award and decrease this down. So that would be something to go check. You definitely need to do that before you close the grant. So I go check that, verify that. Once that's done, then again, mark it as compliant and the day I did it. And the goal is obviously to make them all compliant. Again, it's more of an audit trail and tracking, so you can show that you did the steps you needed to do. Now, if you had, I saw one in there that was program specific, but it was like special conditions. So if I had like a special conditions, verify that all special conditions were met on the grant. Unless I had one like that, and I was looking at it, and it doesn't actually apply to this grant. This grant, you know, let's say this had special conditions in it, and that was this task. And this grant didn't actually have special conditions. I can delete it. This is not, you know, going to hold you to this. It's really about tracking and making sure that you did everything, and it's just a helpful task list for you to go and check. And then later on, you know, in the future, if you want to go back and look at the history, you can go back and see who did this and if they did it correctly. So it's all about tracking and getting that audit trail. You're going to go verify, compliant, when did you do it? Actually closing the grant, again, this is just for tracking purposes and to help the internal user make sure they did everything. But to actually close the grant, and you do want to close it because underway means they can still create new data. But when you verify that everything is in fact done, you do want to close out the grant and change that status in the general information to closed. Now that it's closed, we're officially done with this grant. Now we can still report on it, we can still track, we can still do searches. So can the grantee. They can still find and see their grant. They just can't create that new data. And that's what we want to prevent once everything is in fact done on this project. So that concludes our training on the closeout process. Thank you for watching.